Howdy, Internet. Today we are putting together this this Ibanez that was painted by the customer. It's taken apart to be painted, obviously. Um, in this video, we are going to be just assembling it. I'm going to save the stringing for another video. I'll string and set up in a second video and title it as such because the customer has not let me know yet what strings they want on this or the tuning. So it's just assembly today. This stream isn't necessarily a how-to or a show and tell. I'm doing these to kind of catalog the work I do and also to open up a discussion to have with the audience while I get something done. And so if you have any questions or comments or anything about music or the store, feel free to hit up the comment section or the chat. I guess I should start by explaining this. This is a paint stirrer. You use this to stir paint. You get these from the hardware store. That I put double-sided sandpaper on both sides, and I labeled the grit. And I made a few of these, and I left the sides plain to sand neck pockets to fit necks. Since there's no sandpaper here, it doesn't cut out the bottom, and I'm able to just sand the sides with one of these little handy dandy tools. It's like a giant fingernail file I made, pretty much. Fingernail file could work too if you found one that was tall enough. But I did that off camera prior to this to get the neck to fit. And so that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to bolt this neck on and dig through this these pile of parts to see exactly what all's what. This looks like pickup screws. And Floyd Rose parts. All right, that looks to be at least 3 neck screws. I guess we can just start dumping parts out. The bags don't even make any sense how they bagged them. We got some knobs. 3, those look like neck screws. Here's the 4th one. Good. Oh, we have all the, here's the pick guard screws and the washers for the pots. My plan of action is to get the neck on so I can put this thing in a guitar stand while I assemble the pick guard. And when the pick guard's assembled and everything else is kind of lined up, we'll put the rest of the hardware on. Taking inventory of everything. Here is the bridge and an output jack with the springs. Whoops. The output jack. What's this from? Oh, it's okay. It's one of the little feet from the bridge. All right. Or not feet. Those little like spacer blocks that hold the string in. Hopefully they didn't lose any of those. No, they look like they're all there. I see 6 of them at first glance. Get these bags out of the way. What do we have in bag number 3? The tremolo cavity cover. The strap locks. We could put those on. Or not strap locks, strap buttons. The wiring. One thing I am not seeing is a neck plate. Maybe I need to check the case, but I do not see a neck plate. They're going to need a neck plate. No, this was recessed. They have the, okay, they have those bushings. The neck plate washers. Take this apart for now. It looks like it's missing too. More electronics parts. We were clearly missing this one and this one, and then they painted over that. That should have come out. We'll leave it though. I'm at least going to get the neck on with those two screws. I guess we'll do the strap buttons first. One thing I always do with the screws is size the screwdriver first. Too often have I seen people strip screws just by being impatient and not taking a minute to grab the right tool. Put together what we have. We can at least get the neck on, and then with the two screws and do most of the body work, and then I'll call them, or when I talk to them about what strings they want, I can tell them about those neck plate bushings or neck plate washers. I forget what they're called. One thing you got to be careful of is you got to kind of gauge the screw. Since they repainted this, these aren't fresh holes, and a lot of times they can be closed off a lot by like body filler or the paint itself. In some cases, if they used a lot of product and a lot of product gotten these holes, you can almost bind the screw and snap it. Ask me how I know. All right, yeah, I'm not seeing those washers or bushings or whatever they call those things. That explains why there's no neck plate, though. Are these all the same length? That's something good to kind of tell. Oh, no, they're not. Glad I checked. Yeah, it tapers up here. Okay, so these two would be the shorter ones. So I need a long one and a short one to go in there. We'll get the tremolo claw in. I thought there was something else that would be best if I put in now. Get the tremolo claw in. Hopefully y'all can see that. Gonna redo these solder connections. Also, I would prefer people, since I work on these frequently, well, pretty much every day, I would prefer people desolder connections instead of cut them, because sometimes when you put things back together, these things are assembled with just barely enough wire as it is. There's usually not, in some cases, enough to where you can just strip it and reconnect it. Sometimes you have to rerun the wire or like splice into it. So I would prefer that when people disassemble these, that they desolder the connections and not just cut the wires. Then the tremolo claw back in. Bada bang. Let's get this neck on. I hope it still goes in. It does. I had to sand it a bit. I'm gonna do one of the shorter ones here. a longer one here. Maybe if I sell them the other ones, I'll have to pop these out. I don't know. I got to really think on how good of an idea that would be, or how well that would go. Trying to pull these out, because a lot of times if I remove these, there's a high probability that I'm going to chip the paint around it, removing it. So I think for the sake of not doing that, we'll just sink these in like so. And now, since there's paint in these holes, I guess I'll try to find like a sanding rotary tool, but I won't use it on the electric tool. I'll just sit there and spin the rotary tool manually for a good like 5 minutes till I clean it out. Or I could even just go up and down this way and work it around until it's good enough to get that other part in there. Oh, now that the neck is on, I would put these in, but I guess we can. Oop, that doesn't go there. That's the short one. I'm going to put these in, but I'm not going to tighten them all the way. I'm just going to put them in so they're here. Again, not stringing this today. That will be in part 2 when I figure out what kind of strings the customer wants and also what they want to do about these missing parts. I think I'll grab a set and just set it aside and have it ready for them. All right. We're going to set this aside for now, and then I'm going to put my focus on the pit guard. I'm going to build the pit guard. Now I can set that in a stand. All right. Electronics. This has 3 pickups, 2 humbuckers, and a single coil. Already wired. Thank God they did it like this and just didn't start clipping things. This is not bad. I'm not complaining about how they did it at all, even though they cut it, but there's still plenty here, so I think we're good. Yeah, they clipped it right at the ends. Perfect. All right, let's play the screw game. Okay, these are single coil pickup screws. Those are for the middle single coil. Those are for the humbuckers. Those are always tricky to put in. These are for the bridge. All right, let's make sense out of all these screws. These are the humbucker screws. 2 and 2. Those made it safe this far along this journey. These 2 screws are for the switch. And then for the middle pickups, they usually use these screws, like wood screws, but that may not be the case. These screws are probably for the, yeah, they're for this. It's like a puzzle. It's kind of fun. I don't know where this one silver screw came from. If you know, put it in the comments. Unless that's the ground wire. Yeah, that's this ground wire screw here. It must have gone inside. Maybe. That's all I can really think. All those look like pickguard screws, and then the washers for the pots and the nuts and the switch tip. Cool. You always got to, I found a washer stuck to the side of the pickup, which reminds me we should check, because these are magnets, that there are no parts stuck to this. Wouldn't it be something if we found those neck washers? Are they ferrules? No, they're not ferrules. I can't think of the name for it. I'll put it in the comments when I look it up later and be like, oh yeah, duh, of course. Okay, so I guess my plan of action is I'm going to mount there's 3 washers. Why is there an odd number? Of course. Let's get the pickups on first. We're going to do this bridge pickup. And just a lot of finicky handiwork to manipulate this. Let's go. I'm sure there's better ways to do this. Sorry for getting in the way, but it's almost a weird dance balance. I need my go optimizers for this. Kind of hold it in place and just get it started. Luckily, these springs aren't too long. Yeah, that started. So like I use both hands. I push with my left hand, then kind of push down with the screwdriver to depress that spring. But luckily in this case, Ibanez sized these pretty reasonably, so making this task not unnecessarily hard. And I think that makes sense if you ever manufacture something, because if you make an assembly process more difficult, or you can make an assembly process quicker by changing some simple parts like this, you can therefore increase the whole production on the assembly line. Talking about speed, does it take forever to do this? And then that one's perfect because the spring wasn't longer than the screw after it's mounted. Some of these springs you really got to compress a lot. Some are just incredibly long. A single coil. Some people, I like to mount the, hopefully that focuses, I like to mount the large side on the bottom of the pick guard and then the skinny side towards the pickup. I've seen people do it the other way, and that just doesn't make sense to me. These screws seem awfully large and are not fitting. Let me make sure they fit into the pickup first. No, that totally is what that's for. Okay. These have a larger screw head. Hope these are the right screws. They seem unnecessarily long, like other single coil screws, but I don't know. They fit. They're grabbing the pickup now. Now they're pulling the pickup up. So they're working. Doing what screws do. All right. I hope one of these springs doesn't shoot across the store. Good God. So yeah, if you feel like commenting or asking any questions, say something in the chat. I don't like to use any power tools when I assemble guitars. Mostly because it's just to minimize breaking anything. You got full control when you do it by hand. Well, most of the time. You can still break stuff by hand. I may have to loosen this one up so that middle pickup's aligned. I don't think this is the original guard. There's another guard in the case that's like cut in two, but they handed me this one and they were like, put this one on it. They asked me if I can order like a clear one, and I really can't. I don't have any connections as like a wholesaler to do that. I suppose I can just get one off eBay, but then I told them that's what they could do. I try not to act as like a third party in between an eBay kind of thing. I try to deal with manufacturers and distributors because I'm a retail store. All right. One more pickup. We can get this into the guitar and wired. Last pickup screw. This one you always got to be careful with because it doesn't have much support up here. I guess it's not bad. There's plenty of support on the sides. Maybe it's good that they did it this way so that there's not a thin piece right here to break. This is probably smart on. Well, there's one down here, I guess. So maybe not. Sending this pickup home. Here we go. Gonna have to adjust the height on this later as part of a setup. These take a larger screw. I don't think this is the original guard. Lay this down to hopefully prevent picking up steel wool shards that may be on my bench. I'm going to put that on a towel while we get the switch in place. With the two little short switch screws. I'm glad the customer didn't try to reinvent the wiring with this one. Yeah, this is a different guard because these are beveled screws, and this guard's not cut for beveled screws. But it'll work. This one's not lining up. Oh, it's just me. We can do this. Loosen this side. See if that helps get this one in. Send this one home. Not really. This needs a little encouragement. Or a closer look. All right, we're going to loosen this one more. There we go. Yep, had to loosen that other side. That may have just been an extra washer stuck to the back of the pickup from the factory too. I don't think doubling any washers is even necessary here because that looks perfect right like that. Sometimes you have to add spacers and stuff, but no, that looks good. That's not the right size. I think it's this size. Yeah, it is 10 millimeter because metric. these nuts on here. When I tighten these, hold the potentiometer from the back so it doesn't spin and break the wires. Also to keep it oriented and what will hopefully fit the cavity when I go put it in there. All right, extra wires. No, I'm kidding, they're not extra. That obviously goes to the output jack, body ground, hardware ground. We're gonna assume it's switch tip time, and then after this, we're probably gonna attach it to the guitar and heat up the old soldering iron. Groovy. Let's get the guitar back. Make some room for it. Put some of my tools up. I got a pegboard right here. There we go. Let's see, you gotta weave the wires back through this thing. Let's see. I think right there is where the I don't know if you can see that. I think right there is where this little eyelet gets hooked to. It's the longest one, so we're gonna hook that one up first. I need this to set this on in this event. It's always good to have a towel because these screws will poke the top of your guitar. That's where scratching happens. So I try not to drag it even with the towel between it. But you got to get it close enough to do this. So here we go. I'm assuming that's what this silver screw is for. Let's see if it fits. I'll try it without the eyelet, or if that's even a screw hole. There's another one up in the neck, and this technically would reach. Maybe it does go all the way up there. I guess I should try the screw first before I drop it. Yeah, it's like it was meant for it. That wire is long enough. That's a funky place to route it. That must make sense in assembly. Now I gotta find out where the hardware ground pokes out so I can resolder that to the tremolo claw. Whoopsie. Okay, I think I see it over here. Maybe stripping this wire wasn't such a good idea. I'm going to tin it before I try to feed it through that little hole. Tin it was solder. We're ready. Let's solder. I'm going to put the towel in between that wire and the body so I don't drip solder on this. Solder. There's an L in the word. Man, the English language is weird sometimes. Like, why do people say solder? Is that just like slang or vernacular? I mean, we pronounce the L in soldier. Starting to think that's not where that goes. I can't tell. Let me flip this around and look on the other side and maybe see where it comes out. We'll find it. Okay, right there. Yeah, that's that hole. It's the same one I'm trying to fish it through. In hindsight, I shouldn't have stripped the wire before I loaded this, but here we are. Let me see if I have something to poke through it. This ought to work. Maybe there's just paint in the hole. Maybe I'll run it through the other side. There we are. If I get the tool through it, I think I can get the wire through it. Straighten that out. Here we go. Come on. There we go. We're just barely. I got it. Oh man, wiggling these wires. They have to fall in those little channels. I have to rotate this pot. That's going to hit the side. lugs were facing like this way. I had to rotate them. Output wire. Really, it's a cable because it has a shield. Or I guess it's a shielded wire, I guess you could say. It's probably because that's what it is. There we go. I got to look in such a way that I can make sure everything's clear. No pinched wires or... Oh yeah, that's good. I'm going to put in just like a couple screws just to hold it in while I flip this thing back and forth, in case I have to open it up and fix anything. Because you'll see, I'm going to test it after I wire the input jack. This is a better fitting screwdriver. The other thing I'm going to do is check the original guard. Well, either way, I'll get screws in all here. I guess I'll drill them if I need to. That won't be a problem. All right. We have just enough here to wire the output. That's why I don't like... Also, you kind of have to desolder it to attach the new one, so I still have to fish, you know, the little pieces of wire left out of this thing. Let's do that solder sucker. Needed to get the clamp out. Or actually, sometimes there's enough here I can heat it up and pull it out with tweezers. I'm going to throw these tips away so they don't end up under the guitar and scratch it. Now we're going to use the solder sucker to clear the clear these lugs off so we can get the wire back through it. That was a good one. I got most of that. There we go. That's good now. Switch hands. All right, cool. That's ready to go. We got to prepare the very, very, very little that's left here. I got to get a razor blade to cut that shield, the insulation. Very careful. If I tried to use the stripping tool right now, I would probably break this. And I don't need to make this any shorter than I have to. So sometimes you may have to strip wires with a razor blade. It's nothing I'm not afraid of. Or nothing I'm afraid of. Whatever. I will use this for the signal wire, though. Perfect. I'm going to tin those and get the sharp objects off the bench. I think we're done with the clamp. I'm going to have to flip this over and do it on my end. That's why I wanted those screws in the pick guard. Thinking about adding a second camera to this stream, but I got to get things figured out on how I can do that efficiently. And maybe just like up in one of the corners, like over here corner, I'll do like a image of like a camera on me so you can kind of see multiple angles at the same time. I think that would be a little bit more interesting than you know, like the mime show. But seriously considering that. And what's cool, what I figured out is you can use like multiple webcams at the same time. It's just you got to use like OBS software or some type of software that will handle multiple video inputs. And so I've been highly considering that and getting everything set up that way. But also, I kind of want to work it into streaming multiple platforms at the same time. There we go. This one, the signal wire is easier to do first. Hard part is just getting the things to be at an angle set how you need it. That's the hard part about soldering, is prepping. I guess that's true with a lot of trades, or a lot of work, especially painting. Yeah, if you paint guitars or you paint anything, most of your work's in the prep. Painting's nothing. Painting's the fun part. It's all that sanding and taping. That takes an extraordinary amount of time. We'll get this welded together. I say welded because my friend, he showed me like an eBay listing for like a pickup kit, like a cheap pickup kit he found on eBay. And then it said no welding required in the description. And we kind of laughed at it. We were like, well, that's good. No welding required. All right, I guess it's bad luck to like put it together before you test it. We're going to plug a cable in, turn the amp on. It's going to be noisy because I haven't done the ground, but I at least want to make sure that we're on the right track here. Oh, yeah, we hear something. It all works. Let's finish it up. I guess we're at the point where this is the guitar and we could use a proper neck stand. I don't know. No, actually, I'm going to be screwing this in and pushing sideways. Those don't often hold sideways very well. Now, this is the screw I'm wary of to make sure that it's not, that the hole hasn't been filled too much that I might risk of stripping this. It's also to check, make sure I grab the correct screw when doing this, because, I may grab a screw that's too big and try to cram it in this hole and, create a bunch of problems for myself. Got the jack on. I'm going to remove that last bit of wire that they left. They don't really need that here. I'm going to throw this away immediately so it doesn't end up under a guitar. Soldering inside a guitar reminds me a lot of operation. I'm trying to use the claw in such a way maybe to hold this wire. I think we can get it now. Since I tinned the wire and added a big glob of solder here, I think it's just a matter of melting them together. Just like that. That concludes the soldering. Clean up some of my tools. So now we can flip this over. We can use the Stumac neck block. Nothing special about the Stumac ones. Prop a guitar up on almost anything. Put in the rest of these screws. Well, this is sure coming together. Gotta hook the bridge on. A few more screws. They used a tape for these white lines, and I think they clear coated over top of it. So I have to kind of poke the screw through the tape in the sections that the white tape runs across. Like in this one, for example, the last screw. Knobs. So I like to run my hand around, make sure the pick guard's seated well. But I kind of checked throughout the process, as y'all saw. Knobs. This was one of the rubber cushions for the tremolo, which we're going to put in now. This is what I kind of hope isn't all that bad. This may be Let me find the right size Allen wrench here. I guess key. These keys are wrenches. Regardless if they're metric because it's Ibanez. Oh man, the only thing I can think is because it's all filled with paint, is maybe find a metric tap. Yeah, like the things that the bushings, threaded bushings these screw into are all filled with pink paint. So, ooh, let me find my my thread taps. I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, they're in here. Man, you never know what comes up on these things. I got 2 sets of taps. Let's hopefully we can find the right metric one, because that's got to be metric. Everything on this guitar is metric. Even the tuning. Oh, yay, a mess. Nothing on this label indicates anything metric. Let's check this set. I think this is a standard set as well. Yep. Yep. They're going. Or at least this one is. Guess the tap wasn't all that necessary. They're going. Tap wasn't necessary. There we go. Now this hook tool is great for this next process. This thing's amazing for tremolo springs. Although, I guess, well, we can hook them around this way too. That's fine. They didn't even remove this one. This sponge is still back here. I didn't remove either one when they painted it. That's okay. It's gonna be good. Let's see. Is that too low? That's way too low, looks like. Oh yeah, we gotta bring that up a ton. But I wanted to drive them all the way in there to make sure that the threads are clear. I'm gonna raise both of these. Oh yeah, this is already falling into place. Just like that. Before I flip this over, so no more of these little blocks fall out, I'm going to tape over the top just to hold the rest of them in. I do not want to go digging for those. Like that. I'm going to hold it here and flip it over. And make sure it's aligned with the posts. There we go. We're going to do the center one first to help hold it. Yep. There we go. Sometimes you don't even need the tool. You can just kind of reef it on there. Hook one. We're going to loosen this claw up a lot. Should have done that to begin with. I wanted to make sure the screws could go in. All right. Got the springs on. Got the bridge on. Desperately needs to be put under tension. With the strings so that it sits into place. And then we can do the tremolo floating Floyd Rose bridge dance. We have a black back plate. And it's 6 screws. Somehow we ended up with an extra washer, but that may have been from assembly because it was stuck to the back of one of the pickups. Maybe assembly at the factory. Either way, everything worked pretty good. I'm going to put these back in. And one of the last things I'll do in this video is we'll give the frets a nice clean. That's always appreciated before stringing. Now here I'm seeing which one's the E string and which one's the A string. There are marks on the side of it that kind of tell me. Obviously the ones with the larger marks would be the E. Yeah, they go like that, like the other ones. Good. Well, just about everything's here. The only thing that was missing was those 2 bushings on the back. We even have the tremolo arm. All right. Put up a couple of these tools, and then we'll polish the frets in the usual way. Even put on the Dunlop 65. We're going to tape a couple of these pickups. And then we'll follow up with another video. So now will be the time for questions, especially if I'm taking a long intervals to do the same repetitive task. I have a screen next to me that I can see comments and such. So anytime I'm live, feel free to comment. It'll be interactive. It'll be engaging. It'll be fun. I'll read all of them as long as I'm capable of doing 2 things at once. Shiny, shiny. So hopefully by tomorrow I'll have talked to the customer and found out what strings and tuning he wants, so we can make this into a musical instrument instead of a guitar-shaped object. We're just about there. See, this is why I put the tape on the pickups. Yeah, you can see that on the film. That's the shavings from the steel wool. Marvelous. All right, little schmoo. And then that's all she wrote. I'd like to thank everybody that watches. I encourage you to visit the website, afterthoughtsmusicstudio.com, for your musical needs, your musical instrument needs. We sell pedals, we sell strings, we sell capos, we sell Dunlop 65 products, we sell some tools, we sell all kinds of accessories, a lot of parts too. Got a huge selection of guitar parts, good guitar parts. CTS, Switchcraft, Hipshot, Schaller, Godo, Graphtec. Also economy, affordable parts. Before the 65, I'm going to see if this really makes a difference on camera. Oh yeah, you can tell. Oh yeah, look at that. I'll do half. We'll go to the, right there. Go to the 9th fret. And then I'll rub this in so you can see the difference. Oh yeah, you can definitely see that. Dunlop 65 lemon oil. I like to dab it on because if I rub it in, then by the time I'm at the end of the bottle, and also this one has seen its cycle, by the time I'm at the end of the bottle, all the this tip is just obliterated. There's no more like cotton on it. Dab it on to try to preserve that. All right, so whenever I talk to the customer, this will be tomorrow, I'll do a video of setting this thing up. It'll pretty much be like a setup on this because we have to adjust the tension of the springs to the tuning and to the gauge of the strings. Tension of the springs. Hopefully that's what I said. The claw. All right. Thank y'all for watching.